I'm going to divert from my notes for just a few moments to address the situation in Ukraine from a very personal point of view. Some of you know, some of you don't, that prior to ministry, I worked in the international container shipping business. And in 1995, the company I was working for went into a joint venture arrangement with the Port of Odessa Authority to privatize and westernize the container terminal facility at the Port of Odessa on the Black Sea in the newly independent country of Ukraine. This was 1995. Ukraine attained its independence from the Soviet Union in 1991. It was a very heady and very unusual working environment, to say the least, as we inherited a workforce of over 200, where by American standards we maybe needed 60, but we worked it out. We arranged for the man with the suitcase full of dollars to show up once a month at a prearranged point, because that's how we had to do business. And I made friends and contacts there. You see, the company didn't know that as an undergraduate I'd studied Russian, and it was very helpful. And although I couldn't do my own translation, I could at least get around on my own because Odessa was a Russian-speaking city. What was done during the Soviet era was wherever there was a militarily sensitive area, the native population was moved out and ethnic Russians were moved in, the belief being that they would be loyal to Moscow. So while I was there, I worked on my Russian and I developed a friendship with one of my translators. We text pretty much daily. She and her husband live in Kyiv. She has made it to Bucharest in Romania, where she's safe. And I cry, and I'm angry at the insanity and brutality and unfairness of what is being inflicted upon these people, ultimately upon the Russian people. And it opens my eyes and is a reminder that this consciousness of brutality and insanity isn't only found in the Russian dictator. It's found all over the world. There are reasons why the Syrians had to flee and run. There are reasons why people in Latin America are fleeing and running. There are reasons all over the world why people are endeavoring to escape violence and crime. It is our calling to do what we can, collectively and individually, to raise that consciousness and to address the humanitarian crises that are found all over the world. So yes, we pray for the people of Ukraine. We pray for the Syrian refugees. We pray for the Afghan new arrivals. We pray for the Central American immigrants yearning to have safety. We pray for the indigenous peoples in this country who have been subject to that same torturous treatment forever. We pray for minorities and marginalized people in our country and around the world who have been subject to cruelty and unfairness and violence for no other reason than that they exist and they want equality and freedom. So we do our prayer work. And we do our own inner work to see where there are shadows in ourselves. Because as a human being, we all have shadows. Not to guilt or shame ourselves, but simply to recognize and release. Because in that process of recognition and release, we free ourselves to be the individualized expressions of Christ's consciousness that we know ourselves to be. Intellectually, we want to make that a lived experience. And as Dr. King said, a threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So we want to look in our hearts and in our minds to see where there are the disparities between what we say we are and what we actually live. Again, not to shame or blame, but simply to release so that we might be free and live in the consciousness of oneness. This time in our nation's history and in the world's history is pivotal. It is a calling to each and every one of us to be who we've come here to be, not to accept the status quo because it's comfortable, but to stretch, to grow, to emerge into Christ in you, the hope of glory. To give that shape and form, and to work so that every other man, woman, and child has that same opportunity. So yes, these are heady times, these are scary times, these are angering times, and yet these are the best of times. Because, my friends, we are waking up to our calling ever more fully than we ever have. And I'm sure there are many of you, as I have been saying, really? I wasn't awake before? Well, it's time for an energy drink, boys and girls, because we've got work to do. And when I chat with my friend who is now in Bucharest, I'm so grateful I'm not there. And I'm ever more committed to the work of establishing peace, abundance, and respect for all creation. It may not be easy, but it is worth it.